y'all. Welcome to the Unfiltered session. My name is Ray, and this is Mo, my wife. So here today, we're about to talk about keeping up with the Joneses. The Joneses.
Because the Joneses was a boy band in the 90s or early 2000s.
Keeping up with the Joneses. So tell me, what is your opinion on keeping up with the Joneses?
Well, I don't think you should be trying to keep up with anyone. You should do what makes you happy and definitely what you can afford, because the Joneses, they billionaires, trillionaires, whatever the kind of money they got. We don't have it like that. So, and I think what we as a people, black people, I only can speak from my perspective because I'm a black woman in America. A lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us would love to look like we have more than what we actually do. And I think that's what gets us, that's what gets us messed up. Mm-hmm. In layman's terms, we try to do and look like we a certain stature and we don't have it.
Exactly, yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
I feel like my perspective on it is people always feel like they have to prove a point to other people to make themselves feel good, but inside they feel horrible about themselves. I feel like they have to set certain standards in their life in order for them to be able to feel good about themselves. Mm-hmm. But as I was told, I'm not calling no names, but as I was told from a bank representative, she was like, the ones that doesn't dress so well are the ones that has the most money. But the ones that's driving expensive cars or driving or just wearing like nice clothes, those are the ones that have to keep up with the Joneses, because they
trying to keep up with
quote unquote trying to, because they're trying to, keep up with their friends and their image and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, they're taking out loans to the point where they tell them, hey, you can't take out no more loans. I feel like we all in a situation where we're trying to make ends meet, whether we are low class, middle class, high class, whatever class we in. Me, myself, I know what it feels like to be whatever class you want to place me in, except for high class. I don't care about that. That's materialistic shit. I just feel like it doesn't matter whether you low class, middle class, high class, you're still gonna get judged. You're still gonna be in a category. So it doesn't matter. I feel like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, caste. It's basically caste. CASTE. Caste means we're all in, as she said, a category. And actually, that's how the world was set up. They casted us, just like you're casted out of whatever. The poor, the middle class, the high class, or as they call it. But at this point, no one's high class. Everyone owes someone. They owe a bank. They owe on their cars. Well, that's a bank too, because you have to go to a bank to get your car payment or whatever. If you're not paying out with cash, which a lot of people aren't. Everybody pretty much has a car payment. So yeah, and people look down their noses on others because you don't live in a certain house, or you don't live in a certain neighborhood, or you don't wear certain clothing, or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, what matters is what's in your bank account.
Right.
Because just because you're looking like you have something doesn't mean you necessarily have it. Mm-hmm. And let me go back. What's in your bank account doesn't matter. It just matters when it's time to sit down and pay those bills.
Exactly.
That's when it matters.
I feel like a lot of times when I encounter with a lot of people, they feel so like you down here, they up here. Mm. But I know deep down, me being spiritual, that they're not happy with themselves. They have to find something to make themselves feel good. Or they see something in you that they don't see in themselves. I also work with a lot of people where, things are going well for them in their life, but I know when doors are closed, they're still scrambling, trying to figure out how they're going to pay this and that. I mean, you got to look at it like we all trying to strive for greatness in life. So it doesn't mean just because you appear or what degree or whatever the case may be that I can't do the same thing. When I see other people having things or trying to strive, that's motivation to me to elevate my own life. I don't see it as an intimidation. A lot of people see it as intimidation, or a lot of people do a lot of comparison, or they'll either try to buy something similar to what you have. Like I said, go back to what I said, like just to try to make themselves feel good. But like my mom always said, or the old people always say, you never know how these people get these things.
That is true.
So you have to really focus on your own paper, your own page, and your own path of life instead of worrying about what somebody else is doing.
Speaking of path of life, that just made me think of something. A lot of us think because we're at a certain age that we should be here, or we should have this much money in the bank, or we shouldn't be doing this anymore.
That's not true.
Everyone's timeline is different. Just because you may be 30 doesn't mean you should be closing on a house, have a child, and being married. Or if you're 45, you should already have that. Or if you're 50 and you never bought a home, you're no good, or you never got a degree or whatever. Everyone's life is different. And everyone doesn't want to go to school, and everyone doesn't want to buy a home. So it's up to the person.
I feel like people always, like you said, piggyback what you were saying, a lot of people always suspect you to be in a certain category, even when you're dating people too. That's a whole nother topic. But
oh, wow, yeah.
Even when you dating people as well, they want to put you in a certain category that you're supposed to already be established, quote unquote. But life happens. Life just knocks on doors and like trouble comes. Like it doesn't last for always, but it comes.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people need to understand that you have to understand that people go through things, but they also overcome it and also elevate. That's elevation that they're going through. It's elevation. It's not because they want to be staying still. Not everybody wants to stand still. I feel like a lot of people are closed-minded. They're not open-minded. They're very closed-minded. They only stick to what they just know. When change come upon, then it's like they're scared for change. In order for you to elevate, it has to be some type of change in your life. And I feel like, people really need to be more open-minded about their choices in life instead of placing people in different categories. Like you see, I know a certain area, not going in, but it's a certain plant did a big old layoff one time, and all these people were driving Maseratis and Jaguars and all this other stuff, and a lot of people, when they lay off all those people and stuff, they lost all their houses and stuff. SRP took all that stuff back, foreclosed their house, took back their cars they financed through, and they had to downgrade their life. Sometimes God will humble you. I don't know where everybody worship, whatever, but God will humble you and realize who is He.
To make you realize who He is.
Exactly. And I feel like you cannot look down on people and not knowing what their story is and why they got into a situation that they're in. Me, myself, I've been homeless twice, so I know how it is. And I'm not going to turn back in the hands of time. I'm looking forward in my life. And that's why I work so hard to do what I do with my wife and just trying to elevate, not stand still, elevate. I feel like a lot of people can relate to what I'm saying right now. And this is why we do the things that we do for us, like reaching out to people that don't have a voice to speak out. Is being able to, I was mute at one point. I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for my wife. But I was mute at one point where I didn't have a voice. So now I'm having that voice to speak to the world and speak to the people that's mute, to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and be able to strive for greatness. So what they judge you, so what they talk about you. You know who you are when you look in that mirror. You got to understand who you are.
And when she says mute, she doesn't mean hearing impaired. She means people that have been shut down. They decide to just stop talking because they feel like no one is listening anyway, or they never get a chance to use their voice. So, or they're intimidated, or they're scared, to speak up and out about how they feel and what's even going on, or whatever, even if just to say what the weather is like. Some people just shut down when they feel like no one's listening. Exactly. Or, if someone else has always told them or abused them and said, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, you stupid, right, or whatever. So they just shut down and don't say anything. So as my wife said, she used to be that way. And I'm glad that she isn't anymore. Now, if anybody knows me, I ain't never been mute. Even since a child, my mouth been open, it don't never shut up. I'm learning how to not speak on everything and to react to everything. The older I get, the better I get at it. Right. I've just always been a talkative person, even as a child. Y'all know if you're an 80s baby or 90s or whatever, when we had report cards, written ones, right, you had that side where when you had the satisfactory comment, right, and comments and stuff, it was always saying talkative on mine. And my mother used to always say, you need to learn how to be quiet. In class, you don't speak in class unless right, you're talking to the teacher. But see, those are the times when you're not supposed to speak because exactly, you have to learn. Right. But back to what my wife was saying, it is good, to come out of that shell and live your life. You know what I mean?
You have to live your life for yourself. Don't keep up with nobody. Don't you? I've been around a lot of people who went and brought stuff. They knew they couldn't afford that stuff. They just wanted to feel like they had to prove a point. A lot of times people go into debt just to prove a point. Mm-hmm. I'm not going in debt for nobody. If you don't like the way I am and the way I live my life, that means you ain't meant to be in my life.
Absolutely.
And I feel like a lot of times people hang around other people just to feel themselves so secure. Really, you insecure.
Absolutely.
And I just don't understand this world that we live in today. I feel like everybody's so competitive. Everybody want to buy this and this and this, and your money look like this, but your bills look like this. You can't do that. You can't keep placing yourself in a depression mode. That don't sit right with me. I just feel like the Joneses are broke, as Dave Ramsey would say. The Joneses are broke. They are broke people. They want to live a lavish life, but they're broke. So don't live a quote unquote lavish life when your ass is broke.
And the crazy thing about it, as my wife said that, well, you guys know she's my wife. I'm gonna stop saying that. As Raven would say, that the bank teller or the bank representative told her, these people are, they had took out all these loans just to look a certain way. And it's nuts because at the end of the day, you're going to a bank to take out money you do not have just so you can look like you have a certain amount of money. But guess who has to pay that back? Not the people that you're trying to live up to. You have to pay the bank back. Whichever bank you go to, credit union, whatever bank you go to, you have to pay that back. So if you're going to take out a loan for something, let it be something that is going to be yours, like a home, a car, education, something of that matter, to pay off bills, maybe to get out of debt, but not to put yourself in debt. It makes no sense.
And the thing that I seen, it's funny, bro. Listen, the things I saw people have done, like people would really like dig into their 401k and act like they got all this money and stuff and just splurge and go to different things, events or whatever, and just to have fun, just to prove a point.
And don't get us wrong. Your 401k is money but you make.
But you still have to pay it back out of your check every time you get paid.
It's your money that you make, that you take out of your check and put away. But that money from a 401k is supposed to be money that you take out when you retire or if you leave that job. Mostly it's because when you retire or if that job folds up, then you have money in escrow basically. But if you're taking money out of your 401k It doesn't make any sense. When you get to retirement age, if you make it, you're not gonna have any money because you used it all.
No, none.
Makes no sense.
I don't know what. I at this point, just don't keep up with the Joneses.
At the end of the day, it's your money and it's your life.
Live in your truth and definitely live below your means. Especially nowadays that we going through this recession shit. Live below your means. Don't try to prove no point to nobody, not even yourself. Do what makes you happy, but live below your means. Because at the end of the day, your name is on those papers, the cars, the whatever you got going on. You are responsible for that. Not your friends, not your mama, not your daddy, nobody. You are responsible for that. So you need to take accountability for your actions or what you take when you are dealing with buying stuff that you know you can't afford. You have consequences by every action that we take. Mm-hmm. So just to say, don't go up in no bank talking about you want to get money, you ain't got no damn money. You know what I'm saying? You know how your paycheck is every 2 weeks or whatever, monthly, whatever the case is. So live below your means and don't keep up with the Joneses.
And as the budget gurus say, and it's a lot of them out there, I know y'all may watch them or might have not watched them, but they're out on YouTube and everywhere else. If you know you did not have that money to begin with and you had to go and get a loan, or you want to go get that loan, you're not going to have it to pay it back. So leave it where it is.
And then on top of that, the interest rate is high as hell. So they want you to stay in debt. So now
that's a whole nother conversation.
Exactly. So come back for that. Trust me.
So this has been another episode of
Further Fitness.
Oh, the Further Session.
My bad. Further Session.
All right, y'all. Until next time.
Peace.
The Further Way.